I'm Richard and welcome to Zeapon Productions, and today will be another late night thoughts, and today's topic is what am I going to do in the future. So in the upcoming month of December, these are the things that I'll be actually reviewing, and of course I want to review something that's also not on this table. First, let's talk about what I'm reviewing on the table first. So this is the Zeapon system. This is a motion system where you can use it to do your pans and tilts and all the product shots. So I recently got it from my local distributor. It is a really worth it set. I mean, about 1,300 Sing dollars, or if you convert to USD, about less than 900. It's a three-way system including the slide, pan and tilt, and it has an application to do it. Now, my initial impression is that overall it does the job really well, other than that the application is a bit quirky. But if not, it does the job well, and at the price is really worth it. I mean, the competitors out there are more costly if you want a three-way system. Most of them can do maybe slide and pan, but this has the tilt function. And I have not seen any system that costs less than 1.3k Sing dollars for such a three-way package. So this is relatively worth it, and it connects to the phone nicely. Next, this is a light that is long overdue. This is the Weeylite Ninja 200. So I have done a box opening video and of course the initial look of this light some time back. I am supposed to actually review it, but there was a flaw in the design. So I talked to the manufacturer. It seems that they probably have to rectify it a little. But that said, the light is still a really good light, and I will probably complete this review of the Weeylite Ninja 200. It will probably be up in a week or two time, so if you are looking to purchase a 60 watt light, you may want to wait for that video and then take a look at it. The only issue of this I will talk about in that video. That's the only issue, but if not, the Weeylite Ninja 200 is a pretty nice light. And then next you can see here, this is the Eos R3. Now I have spent my last one whole week talking about this camera, be it review, initial thoughts, some tests, and then of course one of my late night thought series where I actually think about this camera and rationalize it a little bit. Now, the R3 is a very expensive camera and it is worthy of its own 3-4 part series review, because if you are intending to buy the camera, you probably want to know a lot more in depth in its experience and how does it work out in real world. Now, I have used this camera for I think 4 photo shoots now and 1 events coverage. I can honestly tell you that it is a really reliable camera. For the photographic function wise, it is really good. Its 30 FPS works really well. It is a lot more predictable than, let's say, the A1. So there are many good perks to it. I mean, it only lacks that 45 or 50 megapixel sensor, but overall it is a lot more responsive if you ask me. However, when I use it for video recently, I found that the noise level is a little high, but maybe I underexposed it or something, but definitely not the camera of choice when it comes to video, for me at least. I still prefer the A7S III in these regards. I also shot the RAW, which is quite nice. In fact, I'm going to try it out again next week. Now, as part of buying the R3, I was scouring my local second-hand websites to look for a lens to go with it, because I needed a zoom lens to really do all my events coverage. I have the 2870, it's still with me, but my wife uses it at times. And in fact, it was quite unfortunate in recently, when I did my events coverage, I didn't have the lens because my wife was using it. So I wanted to buy a versatile lens for events coverage and general shooting around. So I got the 24 to 105 F4l Rf, and I'll actually do a review on this too. And this was purchased locally, secondhand, for I believe about 1,050 Sing dollars. That is like, what, 700 USD or 650 USD? No, let me see. 700 USD, about 700 USD. So for a second hand, I checked the internet. It seems to be one of the most worthy purchase, and optically it looks pretty good, at least for my initial impression. And the R3 is not a demanding camera at only 24 megapixels. So I also reviewed the lens 24 to 105 F4l. Now, this is where I want to talk about the equipment that I want to review that is not on this table here. That is the Nikon Z9. I connected Nikon recently, so hopefully they'll get back to me on that. I'm not sure whether they can do it or not. in the past, they did loan me a Z7 before the review, so I hope that they remember it and then loan me the Z9 to let me try it out. Because if I have the Z9, then I kind of touch all the flagship cameras. Now, I'm a portrait photographer. I'm not a sports photographer nor a birding photographer. So someone did ask me, do you really need the kind of performance for portraiture? I would say no, you don't need that kind of performance for portraiture. But there are many people out there that use the highest end camera to do various portraits and events coverage. And there are reasons to it because, you know, better camera just means that you can get your task done easier. It doesn't make you a better photographer, but getting the task done easier and having more leeway in post-process or during the shoot itself is always a welcome perk. And if you can afford it, it'll be a question of why not. But of course, once again, I never recommend, I will never recommend an R3 or a Z9 or an A1 for the purpose of just shooting portraiture, because that's absolutely a waste of money. You could do it with the R5, you can do it with the A7 IV, A7 R4, or you do even the Z7 II. All these cameras can do fantastic portrait. But if you are doing a little bit more than portraiture and you need certain aspect of it, like be it speed, performance, reliability, then all these high-end cameras are possible, cameras to use. Because a 30 FPS camera will still be relevant 3 years later if you need 30 FPS. You can't replace a 30 FPS camera with a 10 FPS camera no matter how you want to slice it. So that is something to note. High-end cameras are high-end cameras. They are there to get the job done. But definitely for portraiture, you probably don't need them. But if you want to have the best, want to have the most leeway during the actual shoot itself, and have the money to spare, of course, high-end camera is one such alternative to throw your money at. Though I do recommend you throw money at lenses first before throwing money at this, because one of these cameras can buy you the 85 1.2 DS, 24 105, and a 2870 together, or 70-200. That's the budget of 8,000 plus Sing dollars camera. And lastly, I want to talk about my C70. Now, obviously, you know in my channel that I shoot my YouTube videos. I also shoot song covers. I also shoot dance covers. I also do events coverage. In fact, I just closed one recently. And I've been using a C70 quite extensively. You may be wondering why the C70, what's so good about the C70. I'll leave that for the review. But you also know that I do own a lot of cameras like the R5, the R3, the A7S3. And it all comes down to convenience when you want to get the job done. It's just so convenient to use a C70 in the field. Built-in NDs, built-in microphone jacks, a relatively bright screen and a relatively sharp screen if you ask me, a battery that you never need to change if you're doing a 3-hour assignment. All these are little perks in life that when you actually go down into production, it is what really matters. And you don't need to rig this camera up anyway. Recently, I seeing some other videographer, because so happened for that particular event, another videographer came in. He had I think S1H, or I think it's a S1H, all rigged up and stuff. But technically, after rigging everything up, he's the same as the C70. Of course, he has a full frame camera, but it's a C70 technically. The ND filter with your sound component, then with a cage to actually mount additional stuff. Yeah, you technically get the C70 in the end. So it's really for convenience factor, at least to me. Now, every maker, every content creator, every filmmaker out there has a different needs, and so far I think that the C70 meets all my needs. So I'll cover that in my review of the C70. I think it's time. Why I took the C70, why I think that it's such a great camera, even though I have the A7S3, which I still use extensively if I want to shoot low light. That is king of low light. There is no argument to it. But everything else, I prefer my C70 over my A7S3. So that's really about it for my upcoming weeks of review. Just all these things will probably take me the next 3 to 4 weeks. And then, of course, I hope that Nikon replies and give me the Z9 to try it out. And that's really about it. So if you have any questions on all the equipment on my table, or even if you have questions on the Z9, maybe I'll get a chance to touch it. If you know any Nikon rep, do message them also. Just leave down in the comments below any questions you have. I will try to answer them for you. I will try to answer them in the review. But if not, I will see you next time. Bye-bye.